Good morning, guys. Today we're starting our final 2 weeks. I'm calling it a separate unit, so it's going to be Unit 6.01, Introduction to Descriptive Statistics. Our aim today is how could we summarize data. So for your do now today, you have a table below that shows 18 random cargo volumes for NYC taxis. I want you to find the average of that cargo volume. So come back when you're done and we'll review. Alright, so to review, your average was about 73.2 cubic feet. How I did that is I added the cargo volume for the 18 taxis. It's actually 15. And then I divided them by 15. So I added up the total and then divided by the number of. So now, let's get into what descriptive statistics are. You guys probably know what they are. You may not have heard this term, but what we just calculated is the mean. This is one of the values, calculations we use to describe a data set. So some of the other ones we're going to talk today are all centered around central tendency. What that means is the number that suggests it's a way to describe and measure the center of a data set. So in some ways you can consider them averages like what we just did, but they're not all necessarily quote-unquote averages. So we're going to talk about three. We're going to talk about the mean, which you guys calculated. Mean is the average. So you add up all the values in a data set, then divide by the number of values. Now the median, a little different. Median is our middle value. And how you find the median is you organize your data from least to greatest, and then you find your middle number. Now, if you have an odd number of data points, the median is the leftover number, right? You filter out the lowest, the highest, until you get to the middle, the one single middle. Now, if you have an even number of data points, right, you're going to be left with two numbers at the end. So what you have to do is average out those two numbers. So you'd add them together and divide by 2. And then the mode is probably the least common talked about measure of central tendency. The mode is just the most common number. So now, what I want you guys to do is I want you to take the example from the do now, and now I want you to find, now we found the mean, you're going to find the median, the mode, and then you're going to maybe do a little discussion. What do you think is the best measure of central tendency, and why? Do you believe that's the case? Alright, coming back. So, the median, which is the middle number, right, was 73.5. And again, all I did was list them in size order and find the middle. In this case, you didn't have to average them out because we have an odd number. We have 15 total, so there was just the leftover number. The mode was the most common number, so 75.5 was seen 3 times. 1, 2, and 3. Or anything else only repeated twice, so that is your mode. Now, which is the best measure of central tendency? Now, I'm going to tell you this much. The mode will never be, because the mode is simply the most common. It doesn't necessarily mean the middle, right? Your most common value could also be your lowest, so that wouldn't be a great measure. In this case, though, the mean would be, there is no outlier. So, some of you may have heard this term before, others may not have, but by next week, you guys will be a little more familiar with what an outlier is. Granted, we're not going to get that deep into this topic, so this is really just a skim over. Alright, so for your independent work, you are going to repeat this process. So you have a table. It has the percents of 16-year-olds who had used marijuana by country in the European Union. So you're going to find the 3 measures of central tendency for this data, and I will post it tomorrow on Wednesday's class. Other than that, guys, have a good day. Enjoy